Hey gang, what's good? It's Wes Gardner here, Comedy Hobo himself. Welcome to this exclusive art video kind of breakdown series that we're gonna do totally free. Hopefully you're seeing this on my Patreon page. This is gonna be for everybody. It's gonna be an unlocked post. So if you're just here, brand new on the Patreon, welcome. Hope you consider subscribing. Subscribers are gonna get some bonus stuff to deal with this series, such as I don't know, the PSD files, high quality videos of what you're watching right now, some notes and kind of cheats and all that sneak peek stuff that I'm going to cover here. But I wanted to break this little fun project down into two main videos. The first one being this one that you're watching right now, where we talk about some basics and taking an image or a source, simplifying it to make it easier and maybe more fun to paint. So where did this all come from? So I have Twitter, of course. Hopefully you follow me on there as well. But on Twitter, I have an art buddy named Adam here. He's just getting. I'll leave a link to his stuff here. He's just getting back in the swing of things. He's a lot like I am. One, he's a Texan, but two, he's a. You always have to say the Texan part because that's usually the most important thing for Texans. But he's getting back in the swing of the art thing, just like I did. I took like a decade off, didn't even think about it. And now I'm back in it, and I'm back in it, hitting it hard, as it were, trying my best, trying to get some good gigs, some good clients on there. So Adam's doing the same thing. He's going through his fundamentals. And we made up a little quick challenge for each other. And we've been doing screen grabs. I don't know if you guys saw, let me bring it up real quick. On my sketchbook, I did a study of an alien screen grab. So this was the final. This is the value pass, things like that, the color pass and slight refinement, and then the finals up here. But then I did a little deal of, okay, here's the actual photo that I used, and then here's the outcome. So what did I focus on? Strong silhouettes, mood and shape. It's a good way to kind of train your eye to look at the important parts of a piece. It's good study. It's not about being photorealistic. I don't genuinely care about that, even though if you ask, a lot of people would call my style kind of an impressionistic realism, the John Singer Sargent-y, not to say I'm anywhere near that level, but that's what I like. I like ugly painting that looks like a thing if you zoom back. So we decided, hey, you know what? Almost like you go to a gym to work out. How can we work out our chops as far as art stuff? Doing a thing together, we both learn something. We kind of compare and contrast and talk about what we like, what we didn't like, what was tough about it, what was fun about it. So Adam got 4 pictures for us that I was able to select one of them that we would both work on together. And they're all from the Mandalorian. So I wanted to show you these to kind of show what we were working with as far as, okay, what are we going to use as reference to kind of go off of? So this first one right here, I mean, all of these are beautiful. And I will say, and I'll mention this many times, any TV show or, series or whatever that has people like John Park, Ryan Church, and Jama Jurabev as your art team is gonna look bonkers. Like it's just gonna look beautiful because those 3 people are people that I admire to the moon and back, and I've bought their tutorials, and I mean I'm kind of obsessed. I'm a disciple of John Park and Jama Jurabev especially. But so we had 4 to choose from, and of course, me being me, I chose that we do the most difficult one. So this was the first one that we saw. I really like the silhouette, the fluidity of the cape, everything like that. Oh, there's his. He actually did a cool study. Adam did a cool study of Corporal Hicks from Aliens, which I highly recommend. Go check it out. But we got this first one right here. Second one, really cool, really moody. Very strong silhouette. You have your light kind of bouncing into the room, bouncing all around. Really recognizable shapes. Very, very cool. Right. And then the third one, just a basic head-on. I mean, this would just be fairly, not bare bones is kind of bad to say because there's a lot going on here. It may not seem like much, but you have to make sure all this stuff is crisp. Stuff out here is kind of padded out or softened or, kind of blurred out of focus. But the one I chose, because I'm crazy and I want to put Adam through the ringer and myself through the ringer, honestly, is this one right here. So this one's actually the least readable, in my opinion, out of all of it, because there's a lot going on. Or I should say, it looks like there's a lot going on. But what this video in particular is going to do, this is going to break down how I simplify. Like whenever I see something like this, how do I approach it? Like what do I do? How do I break it down? What do I work on? And how can I make it easier on myself as a painter or as an illustrator to get the overall idea, but make it easier for me? Because I'm all about being lazy. That's especially if you're working with a client and you have to do multiple of these a week. It's good to have the foundations of art help you and do the heavy lifting for you. So, first thing I want to do is, a lot of people ask why you would do screen grab studies. Isn't that cheating? They already made the thing. Why are you making the thing? Why are you not painting from imagination? And this is a whole different topic I can bring up in a video. But I'd like just for you to research camera obscura and just give you a spoiler alert that usually your favorite Renaissance painter probably traced. So I just want to throw that out there. Read all about camera obscura. So doing studies like this of not necessarily tracing, but looking at shapes, trying to replicate what you see to the best of your ability, but with a little bit of your own flair, has been tried and true for centuries. This is a great way to train. It's one of my favorite ways to go. But you'll see a lot of people that, hey, if it's not from your imagination and you didn't invent it, then it's not real art. And those people clearly don't have jobs in the business. So what we're going to do, we're going to take a look at this. I actually set up my composition, but I'm going to show you the steps that I took and why I took them. And that'll be this first video. The second video is just going to be the paint, the speed paint. I'll have it sped up, the illustration, the painting, all that good stuff. And then, we'll talk about the final piece and stuff. But this will just be a 2-video series. Both of them will be free here on Patreon. I'll probably put it on Facebook and stuff as well. But I'm going to keep it private. I'm not going to put it publicly on YouTube. Not yet, at least. So that way only you guys get to see it. So, so if we bring this photo into Photoshop. So brought it into Photoshop, and you can use Krita. You can use Clip Art Studio. Excuse me, let me get some coffee here. Painter. I said Krita. Sketchbook Pro. There's a lot of great, very low cost, or Art Rage is another one, low cost or no cost alternatives to Photoshop. Affinity Photo is a great one. You don't need Photoshop. Hopefully what I show you here can transfer to other things, other programs. So we have this in Photoshop. And the first thing I do is I just kind of look at it. Like, what do I like about this? What do I like? I like that he's part of the environment. Here, I think the environment has as much character as the Mandalorian does. So if I go to fit screen, we just kind of let it wash over you, or what, whatever. Like, look at it and see what you dig. Like, I like the little hit of red, just small details. I like the cables coming over. So these are the things I want to make sure I get in the painting. But this is kind of a tricky composition, because your horizon line, one, it's kind of slanted. I mean, if you're really paying close attention, it's kind of slanted here. You have some weird kind of fuzzed out. I mean, it's a lower resolution image, which is actually kind of helpful, because we can't, I guess we can't use, we could, but it won't look as good. If we try to use photo texture as part of our painting, it wouldn't turn out as well. So this is going to be something that we really have to simplify the shapes. You'll probably hear the word simplify a lot in art, and that can mean many different things. Breaking something down, like, okay, this deal right here, like this right here is a cylinder, and it comes straight down and the top of it, and then it bevels out. So, what does that mean? Or, okay, here's a, flat box on this side, and then you come over here, flat box on this side. Back here, it's a little arch. You see a light, but the light's triangles. So you can kind of see that. But what I like to do whenever I simplify is I want to simplify everything. How can I break this up into something that's easy to reproduce? So what I do, I actually come in, and I'm a big fan of the rule of thirds as far as composition. And hopefully in your art suite, if you have Photoshop, you can just follow along directly. But if you go into Krita, I know Krita and Sketchbook have rulers and guides, things like that. These are kind of powerhouses for making sure that you're kind of on point. So I thought, okay, this line that comes down here, that's about a third of the way into the image. Not quite, probably, but You could see how this could separate. Like you have this line right down here. Then you have maybe like in the middle here, like this line. That'll be your third. But I wanted to make sure directly. So what I wanted to do, I come to View, New Guide Layout. And I literally have one called Rule of Thirds that I set up in the settings. The columns are 3, the rows are 3, but there's no margins. So this is going to split this into 9 perfectly even squares. I'm going to hit OK. And now this gives me a guideline to look at. So I was kind of right. It's not quite a third. Yeah, that line's probably right around here. So what does that mean? Well, I could use this and be like, okay, I could just break my palette, which is over here, into thirds, kind of how I did right here. Or I could actually make this be a rule of thirds painting. That's one of the nice things about being a painter. You don't have to, this photograph already exists. Like you don't have to do this directly. You can take liberties, you can look, as long as you keep the essence of what you like about a piece, you can have fun with it. You can take some liberty. So I'm going to go to fit screen so you guys can see this. So what I did is I actually selected these parts and moved them in to match the rule of thirds line. Okay, so if you pay attention, especially to like right around here, I'll count to 3 and then I'll do the transformation part. Okay, 1, 2, 3. So you'll see that it just brought those walls in just a little bit. Now it did kind of mess with a few of the details, like I'll turn it off again real quick. So this cylinder part kind of goes away. I like that, but it's not necessary because if our main event is going to be the Mandalorian, maybe it might even be a good thing that we kind of take focus away from the cylinder above him. Same thing here. So yeah, there's a lot of light back here, things like that. There's some pipes, there's some detail. But is it necessary? Does it really add to what we're doing? But whenever you move it over, you can see as far as a composition, and if you take a look at the navigator right here, whenever I go back and forth, it doesn't really change the piece all that much, but it makes it worlds easier for me to landmark. So I guess this is technically called gridding or landmarking. Whenever you do something that you want to transfer, let's say a photo over to a painting, you make yourself a grid, you make yourself a landmark. That way it's easier to kind of get those proportions correct. But it's also helpful to get details correct. So we could argue Mandalorian and probably this rock stuff here in the stairs, there's a lot of detail here in the middle. And in a minute, I'll show you an example of actually what I'm talking about. But this is our main event. The middle third is where all the action's happening. There's some cool lighting up here, but this stuff isn't as important. It just gives more context to where the Mandalorian is. So the first thing I do, I like how this is set up, but I think it doesn't have enough contrast or value to really work with as far as this is all kind of gray. You know what I mean? Like, which is cool, and yeah, that's the look of the show. But once again, if we're going to paint it, necessarily what makes a good photograph may not make a good painting. There's going to be a difference. So the first thing I do is I do a quick brightness and contrast pass, and you see how this blows it out. But what this also does is this helps the readability of these silhouettes. So you see the Mandalorian, and actually let me, well, no, I'll keep the grids up. I know they're kind of in the way right now. Sorry about that. But, well, I'll get rid of them. That way we can kind of take a look whenever we start getting to the masking. But you can see, okay, now, and on here, if you look at the navigator, you can just see a big wash of light and saturation just sweeping across. So that's what we can mimic. Once we get our values in, and once we start doing a color pass or whatever, then if you get a color dodge or you get whatever tool you want and start doing this big wash of almost like a wave coming over, that's the information that makes it from the photo to the painting to still get the same atmosphere and that same idea. So then what I do is once I do this brightness and contrast kick, and just to show you the settings, I crank this all the way up pretty much. Contrast was at 100%. So here's a comparison. It was here at 0. You know, the 0, -1-ish right here. But then you crank this up. Look at that. It like vignettes itself. Very, very cool. Same thing with brightness. I had it up to 100, but it sort of oversaturated. It blew it out. The whites started blending together. I lost a lot of the detail here. So I brought this down to about 80%. That still gave me enough of those shadow lines, just enough to infer some detail. And You can also use the auto button and stuff. I like to manually move it because I know what could work well for me. But something else that I like, and now you probably see it a lot more, this is how I get more information. Now, this shadow area, this tells me that the shadows are cool because they're that bluish kind of purple. Even the red has that blue shine on it. Kind of purpley. Cooler, but then those big hits of orange and yellow and the browns and the very like hot sun. You can tell where the light's coming from. You can tell it's coming from this tunnel. It's coming in through here. Maybe there's no roof up here, but it's coming down and it's hitting that wall. But the next thing I do here is I actually do a black and white pass. So there's a few ways to do it. So in Photoshop, literally there's a filter called black and white. Bam, turns it into black and white. But if you don't have a black and white filter on your digital art studio, I'll show you how to make your own black and white filter within like 2 seconds. Make a brand new layer. And here, I'll actually do it right here live. So above the layer that you want to work on with black and white, create a brand new layer. Fill it with 100% black. I actually learned this from Feng Zhu. So Feng, thank you so much for this. Completely black. Now on your blending mode, on your layer mode, change this to color. There you go. Black and white. There's your value pass. So to study the value makes it real easy that way. So yeah, we'll keep that one on. And then what I did now, I have the rule of thirds, so I had to start breaking up where, if this is in perspective, there's buildings, there's hard edges, stuff is pointing a certain direction. So number one, where's a horizon line? So what I have to do is, the closer you look at something face to face or flat, the flatter something is, the closer it is to the horizon line. So like this stair up here, let me go here. So this stair right here, fairly flat, like we're facing the side of it. And then you'll notice as we go down, you start seeing more and more of the top of these stairs. And then like right here, you see the floor and the floor kicks out. So this is clearly in a perspective. It looks like 1-point perspective. So what I did, let's go back to fit screen. What I did is I was like, okay, let me trace some of these lines. So you'll see these lines right here that are feeding basically any architectural lines of the foundation of the building. So you have this pivot right here. You have this line coming here. And I eyeballed it and I thought that the point would be probably around this rock or something. It was a little bit over here. But it was good because it was very close to the rule of thirds line, especially since we moved this stuff over. So it's going to make a stronger composition anyway. So what I did is I made some ugly looking lines. So to make a straight line in Photoshop, and I think in a few other places too, as you're drawing, just hold down Shift and it'll make just straight across lines. So you'll notice I did a line right across the very top of these stairs. That's that first one that I made. And then I just started jotting some stuff in. I traced this line. They're not exact. I kind of traced this line coming back, this foundation over here. But this gives us a general idea of kind of where we're headed. And then what I did, if you have my brush pack, which I recommend, of course I'm biased, but there's a brush that I have called Vanishing Point. In Vanishing Point, I'll activate it right now. You'll see all these more fine lines. Let me actually hide the big bulky lines. That way you guys can sort of see what this grid looks like. And then if you follow, like these lines are a little more exact. And this is just a brush stamp. Like I didn't have to customize this. I just put it where I thought the horizon line would be, and then I would move it around a little bit. But this is about right. It's not exact, but this is way better than what we need to make it as a reference, right? So now that we have this, we have our rule of thirds set up. So now we could essentially we could block this out pretty easy. We have a wall. That's 66% of your piece done, like blocked in. Then your moneymaker is going to be here in the middle. So I'm going to hide this other stuff because I want to show you what I mean by simplifying. So we already know majority of the detail is here in the middle. You would probably think, well, there's a lot of detail here in these boxes, some of the shadows, the door frame, this pillar coming down, some of the trash right here. Same thing here, some of the, circles and, we got to get all that detail. I would argue that's not very important. And here's why. So let's say we block this out into thirds. If we do the first third, and you just did this as a painting, Just this by itself. That's not a lot, right? Like that's, little gradient right here. You get some lines, stuff like that. Nothing really crazy. You don't even really need his arm necessarily. So then we'll do the same thing over on this side. Same thing. A lot of straight up and down lines, some, some circles coming off, but nothing wild, really. I mean, you could make something like this pretty quick. Doesn't have to be exact, but you can just see big line, straight up and down, a little bit of texture, not much. It simplifies it, right? It just completely simplifies it. So our moneymaker then is going to be here in the middle. And now you see the density of information. You see this texture, the rock, the bevel. Here's the Mandalorian. Here's the stairs. Here's the arch. Poles, pipes. This is where our focus is going to be. So in a perfect way, if you take all of this math, I know it's a lot kind of like mathematic logic that I'm throwing, but if you take this and then we say, okay, I'll turn off the black and white. So here are some of the colors right here. So if we say the color whooshes in through here, kind of comes down, kind of comes through here, you have your blues and it goes to orange, and then you have kind of your grays to blend it all together. And you take this math that it's going across, and then up and down, your main area of focus will be this middle grid. It'll be this middle third, or the middle ninth, I guess, right here in the middle, because this is where a majority of your detail should be. And of course, you would want your more fine-tuned detail here on the Mandalorian. This is going to be fun. I haven't even started the sketch yet, but I'm going to get it done today. And I am going to put up probably second video of this up today as well. But I just want to give you guys a rundown on how I break this up. And now, this is my template so far. Basically, 1920 by 1080 wallpaper size, which is not the same ratio as this. So this is why it's also important to grid it, because then I can put what information I need in each box. So like making this box is going to be way easier than trying to make a whole painting. You know what I mean? So we have this. I did a 50% gray. I like working from 50% gray because white messes with my eyes a little bit. It makes me mess up values. My values are always too light. But with gray, I can make the shadows darker and then the highlights brighter. So it's a good starting point. And then sketch layer. If you see here, I noticed that the horizon line was a little above this bottom third line. So that's what I did. I literally put it right here. It may not even be exactly right, but then I also blocked in the buildings. So let me go in and let me get rid of the guides. So this is what let me hit the screen. This is what we're starting with. This is going to be that left side. This is going to be that right side building. And right in here is going to be where the Mandalorian and everything is. So you see what I mean? And then if you notice that, okay, his head or his body, probably from the bottom third up, his head barely comes over the top. So that's going to give me my blocking, right? So my blocking is going to be, if I turn the grids back on, if I go to new grid layout, same thing, 3x3 with no margins. So I know his blocking is going to be around this area. Just basic stuff. I like to simplify it for myself. At this point, I'm sort of rambling, but I hope you see kind of why I break pieces down like this. It just makes it easier in the long run, and it doesn't mess with the composition too much. Like, I like the cylinder, but I know me as an artist, if we had the exact, if we had this, I would spend all my time trying to get this shape right. And does this shape really matter? I mean, it's a cool conductor. It's a, nice little visual piece of storytelling, but is it crucial to the composition? Probably not. So getting rid of part of it, plus just amplifying, here are the cables and stuff. And by the way, I will show what happens before I get off here. What happens whenever I make a mask. So let me disable this mask. So you'll notice as I pull these, it starts covering up things. So it covered up that cylinder, but also covered up the Mandalorian. And I kept some of it covered up because I wanted to show you guys this. Let me get rid of show, take off guides. It also is going to be covering up some of the Mandalorians, like his arm, I think, part of his leg, maybe, and something else. So if I turn this on, you notice that this right here, let me come right here. So as I move the building over, this part of his weapon or something, I know this is sacrilege. I haven't seen the Mandalorian yet. I know I'm going to get angry comments, but I'll get to it. Trust me. I'm stoked to watch it. But as I move this over, it blocks stuff. So what do you do about that? So if we like zoom down, I actually go in and make a layer. Anything white is actually showing, but anything black, you're erasing out of that layer. So white shows, black does not. So think with or without light. With or without. If I hide the layer, disable the layer mask, watch his arm right here. Disable the layer mask, boom, it's hidden. But then what I do is I make a new layer, or I make a layer mask, and then I'll paint black over it to reveal what's under it. And you'll see I kind of went a little overboard right here. But that's easy. I just grab a brush, and it's only, since you're on the layer mask, it's only black and white. It either shows or it doesn't. You can also use grayscale to kind of fade stuff in. I use that a lot for environments, for atmospheric perspective. It works really well. But just to kind of show you where I'm at as far as layers and layer masks. If I come here, and then you'll notice I'm just coloring black, but it's revealing what's under this mask. So I'm going to undo that. So what I'm actually going to do, now I have white set up. Or no, yes, now I have white set up. So see, this is going to erase, this is going to show what's on top of this. Let me go back to black. And this is nice because you don't have to be exact at first. You just want to get the full shape. So, okay, there's his whole arm is now showing. Now I can come in with the white and trace that outline to really get something that looks fairly natural in regards to where it should be. And now the same thing on the leg. You see what I mean? I'm going to turn black so that way I can get the rest of the Mandalorian's leg, because right now it's cut off. You see this right here? Oh, you see this right here? We actually need that part of his leg. You see what I mean? So if we're going to do this, I can come in with the white brush and then carve away from the outline. And I know this may seem like a ton of prep work just to do a quick like sketch study, but trust me when I say the end product is so good because you make it easier for yourself to get to the fun part. The fun part is not setting up the picture. And plus, they did the hard part for us. They did the composition for us. So same thing here. His little, the butt of his weapon or his item. We're going to come over here. We got this. And what we'll actually notice, we'll outline this again with white. This will actually let us see this better because now it's dark over light. Do you see what I'm saying? Now we can see the silhouette of this thing much better than we could before. And I'm going to come down with kind of a finer brush right there. Perfect. And this is just a hard round brush, nothing fancy that I'm doing it with, but just carving out kind of a light touch on my tablet to kind of show a thing, right? So then if you come back, we're going to peel back to fit screen. Now we have the choice like, yeah, sure, that looks okay, but there's also a tangent. A tangent means when things overlap for no good reason. This would be a tangent right here. So I may take that liberty and let's see if this bottom part, okay. So the bottom part of this doesn't even stick out from the frame. So what we could do even, for part of this, we could come in and just completely not use this at all. And just to kind of give us a sense of, and like I said, this is just prep work, but let's see how this looks. So if we're going to be right here, we're right here. If we go, I'm just going to use a basic brush, and then I'm going to color pick the colors around it. I'm just going to paint a little bit over it. Let's see. Oh, let me actually make a brand new layer on top. That way it will go over it. So let's do this. Let's get some of that information from around here. And then we have the wall that's flat right here. Let's bring that back in. Bring some of these colors, kind of bring it up to the armor, sort of trace it out. You know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be exact. That's not what this is about. That's not what it's for. Actually, I need to make that a little darker. There we go. So now we just got rid of that thing entirely, right? So now let's zoom back out. Fit screen. Now he doesn't even have the thing. You know what I mean? So it's all about kind of using the reference as a starting point and then tweaking it to what you like. I think in the final painting, I'm actually going to put some atmosphere behind his head to separate him from his background. So what that means is, like, here's a quick example of what I'll do. If I come in here, I did a brand new layer. I'm going to use a layer mask on this one as well, but I'm going to get a cloud brush. Let me just get clouds. It's not going to look very good, but this just should give you an idea of what I'm going to do. So let's do, if it's this light right here, let's go ahead, put it to 20% opacity, and like kind of block out some of that. So now, where's his head? Oh my God. I'm going to make a new layer mask. And then once again, the parts that I want to show, I'll keep white, but then I'll come in with the hard round brush, trace his head back out with black, that way it shows. Oh, change that to 100% opacity. There it is. That's what we wanted. So we'll come in here, we'll kind of get that out. Get that out right there. Get this out right here. Kind of bring this all back in. Yeah, it's not like exact, but see what I mean? Now, if you look at it from back here, that one just take me a while. There we go. Something like that. I mean, that's still a little blended in, but you see what I mean? Now he separated out even a little bit more from that background. Makes him the star of the show. You know what I mean? But hopefully you got a little something from this. I know we've been talking for like half an hour, but this is just a quick setup. Like I said, I will be doing the quick sketch. I'll be doing a time-lapse video so you guys can see how I approach it, kind of how I simplify these shapes, how I bring the texture back in, do some painting stuff on it. Hope you guys had fun. Please join up on the Patreon if you haven't already. I do appreciate it. You'll get a lot of bonus stuff. You get huge like 4K wallpapers and brush packs and all kinds of fun stuff. But I hope you enjoyed this little free look at one of the fun exercises I'm going to do. Hope you got something out of this. But just remember, photography and painting are different. You're the artist. You make the calls. You control the work. The work doesn't control you. But yeah, if you have any questions, hit me up on Patreon, hit me up on Twitter, Instagram. I'd love to hear from you. And of course, go to comedytohobo.com because I'm a hustler and I want you guys to look at my stuff because I like making it. But yeah, and yeah, this Halo one's getting a lot of love right now, which is cool. Anyway, I'll talk to you guys later. Can't wait to show you the speed paint and all that fun stuff. But until next time, peace.